Equations with variables on both sides notes. So the learning goal is to solve equations with variables on both sides. When variables are on both sides of the equation, the goal is to have the variable on only one side. The variable can be isolated on either the left or the right side. So we're going to explore and see what happens to the solution, the calculations, when we isolate within the same equation on the left side versus the right side. So starting on trying to isolate the variable on the left side, we have the equation 8x minus 16 is equal to 5x minus 10. So to isolate the term with the variables only on the left side, I have to take it away from the right side. So I'm going to subtract minus 5x to eliminate that term with the variable x, and whatever I do on one side, I have to do to both sides. So this will give me 3x minus 16 is equal to 5x minus 5x cancels itself out, is equal to negative 10. So now I have a constant here, so I'm going to move that or eliminate it on the left side, and it will go to the right side. So I'm going to add 16, as it's the inverse operation of negative 16. I will do that to both sides, which will give me 3x on the left side is equal to negative 10 plus 16 is 6. So now I need to isolate the term with the variable, so divide that by 3, divide the right side by 3, which will lead me to x is equal to 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now we're going to isolate with the same equation on the right side. So they are the same, only this time I'm going to isolate the variable on the right side. So I'm going to eliminate the 8x on the left side and do the same on both sides, which will give me negative 16 is equal to 5 minus 8x, negative 3x, minus 10. I'm going to eliminate negative 10 on the right side so that the constants will be placed together on the opposite side of where the term with the x is. Which will give me negative 16 plus 10 is negative 6, which is equal to negative 3x. And this cancels itself out. To isolate the x here, I'm going to divide this by negative 3. Same on the other side. Therefore, x is equal to negative 6 divided by negative 3 is equal to positive 2. So as you can see, whether you isolate the variable on the left or the right side, they will give you the exact same solution, and it should. So answering here, the value of x is the same whether you isolate on the left or right side. And the question for you is it easier to isolate the variable on the right or the left side? Explain your answer. So answers can vary. And maybe for you, if you like negatives or dealing with negatives and you're really good at remembering, multiplying, dividing, and applying the double sign rules, then maybe either or is the same level of difficulty. But usually we try to avoid negatives. Like on the right side, we have negative 6 divided by negative 3 versus on the left side, when we isolate it on the left, we have positive 6 divided by positive 3. So usually people would find this side a bit easier. So is it easier to isolate the variable on the right or left? So in this situation, it would be on the left side. And the reason is that The reason that the variable here is also positive versus here it's a negative is because 8x minus 5x is going to give me a positive number of x's. However, on the right side, if we take a look at this side, 5x minus 8x, so smaller coefficient of x, subtract a bigger coefficient of x, then it's going to give me a negative coefficient of x. So one possible answer is isolating the variable on the left side was easier as there were fewer negatives. Steps to solve equations with variables on both sides. So step 1, simplify the expressions in the equation. So if we look at the example to the right here, 6 parentheses x plus 3 is equal to 4 times x plus 6 in parentheses. We have parentheses, so we're going to simplify them and eliminate them. So we can apply the distributive property to remove the parentheses, and second step will always be to further simplify it by combining like terms if you can. Sometimes you need to, sometimes you don't. Step 2, add and subtract the variables to place them on one side. Step 3, add or subtract to remove the constant from the side where the variable is. Step 4, multiply, divide to remove the coefficient. If the coefficient is a fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. Remember to always balance the equation by doing the same thing on both sides. So now we're going to follow these steps and apply it to the question that we have to the equation on the right. So our first step will be to simplify. So because there are parentheses, we're going to apply the distributive property. I'm going to use the rainbow method. So 6 times x is 6x, plus 6 times 3 is 18, which is equal to 4 times x is 4x. 4 times positive 6 is positive 24. So now I'm going to decide whether to isolate the variable on the left or on the right side. So I have 6x here. If I do 6 minus the 4x, it will give me positive 2x, versus 4x minus 6x will give me negative 2x. So I'm going to isolate the variables on the left side. So I have to subtract it from the right side. And whatever you do on one side, you can do to the other. So 6 minus 4x is 2x, plus 18 is equal to 24. So step 2, add subtracted variables to place them on one side. So we did that. Step 3, add subtract to remove the constant from the side where the variable is. So the constant is on the left side, so we want to eliminate it from this side. So I'm going to subtract 18 and do the same on the right side. So 2x is equal to 24 minus 18 is 6. I'm going to divide the term with the variable by 2. The same on the right side. Therefore, x is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3. Question 1. Explain what your first 2 steps would be to solve the following equation. So the equation here is 5 times is equal to 7x plus 21. Looking back at the steps here, simplify the expressions in the equation. So we have 2 expressions on the left side and one on the right side. There's nothing we can do here to simplify the expression on the right side. However, we could remove the parentheses, hence we will apply the distributive property. So that would be our first step. We would then have to decide where we're going to isolate the term with the variable, on the left or on the right side. On the left side, we'll have 5x. Once we apply the 5 times x, would give us 5x. And on the right side, we have 7x. Because 7 is a bigger number, so 7 minus 5 will give us a positive 2x on the right side. That is where I would isolate or move all the variables to. Hence, I would subtract the variables to place them on the right side of the equation.